é com grande prazer que também aqui, também em nome da reitoria, também da Universidade Aberta, também do diretor do Centro de Estudos Globais, José Eduardo Franco, vamos acolher este colóquio. É um colóquio que é verdadeiramente global, também pelas línguas que serão cruzadas ao longo destes dois dias. Português, claramente, italiano, inglês, mas também espanhol. Vai ser também um colóquio global, no sentido que o autor do qual hoje e da manhã que estará ao centro dos nossos pensamentos é o Michel Foucault, um autor que talvez nunca como hoje, 40 anos depois da morte dele em 1984, efetivamente continua sendo um autor lido, pensado, discutido, efetivamente ao nível planetário nas mais diferentes culturas. E passo a dizer algumas palavras numa das outras línguas que vai ser, sem dúvida, uma das nossas nesses dias. Why Michel Foucault is now really a global author. Global author because he is now at a crossroad of different cultures, different possibilities, and also different forms of thinking. Our idea to make here, to also guest here at Open University, a global conference on Michel Foucault and on the relation between Michel Foucault and the Italian thought is precisely the need we have to approach to understand how Michel Foucault is now an author that cannot be, or can be only with some difficulties, be thought without the Italian thought. After 40 years, since his death, Michel Foucault, we are reading today is an author that can be explained and also edited by several Italian authors. We have, as we are honored to have here at Open University and tomorrow at the Gulbenkian Foundation, Roberto Esposito, that is one of the main master of the contemporary Italian thought. And precisely for the influence that also Michel Foucault had on Roberto Esposito, and for also the possibilities that the thought of Roberto Esposito that gave us precisely to understand, to approach Michel Foucault, that we decided to subtitle our conference as Divergence and Agreements in Italian Thought. And finally, the third language, the third language that we will speak today at this conference and also tomorrow, one of the most pivotal in this sense, precisely for the subtitle we gave, Italian. Abbiamo deciso in questo senso anche di rendere possibile non solo un approccio, diciamo, rispetto al passato, di quello che Michel Foucault è stato negli anni 40 anni passati, ma anche rispetto a quello che il pensiero italiano, in particolare il pensiero di Roberto Esposito, proietta sul futuro dello stesso pensiero italiano, attraverso e anche per mezzo di alcune possibilità offerte precisamente da questo legame tra Foucault e il pensiero italiano. Il nostro sottotitolo, appunto, è Divergenze e Accordi. Il pensiero italiano non è un'unica cosa, non è un orizzonte omogeneo di pensiero. Ci sono stati, ci continueranno a essere contrasti, ma c'è forse un elemento comune, magari di cui parleremo da qui a poco, e che in fondo Roberto Esposito ha identificato nel suo pensiero, questa attenzione verso la vita e anche verso una attualità concreta con cui effettivamente poi Michel Foucault conclude il suo percorso di ricerca. Quello che Michel Foucault ci consegna negli ultimi corsi, ancora nelle ultime conferenze che fa, è precisamente questa necessità di riancorare la filosofia alla vita. E ci sembra importante, diciamo, vedere come precisamente Esposito, tra i maggiori filosofi contemporanei, non solo in Italia, ritrovi nel pensiero italiano precisamente questa ancora, questo legame tra filosofia e vita e la proietti nel futuro. Queste erano le mie considerazioni iniziali e também as minhas, obviamente, o meu muito bem-vindo à nome da Universidade Aberta para todos vós. Eu queria também acolher aqui na mesa o Dr. Stefano Scaramuzzino, que é diretor do Instituto Italiano de Cultura.
I would like to thank very much Dr. Gianfranco Ferraro and the Centros de Estudios Globais e da Universidade Aberta, and Dr. Gabriele De Angelis, coordinator of the SEGS Laboratory Diferenças Italianas, for inviting the Italian Cultural Institute in Lisbon to be part of this extraordinary initiative, and Professor Esposito for accepting our invitation here in Lisbon. I'm very pleased to attend this symposium, whose participants stand out for their intellectual and scientific value, and which fits as a Portuguese-Italian piece within the wide mosaic of cultural and research initiatives organized around the world to remember Michel Foucault, 40 years after his death. The vitality of the great French thinker's philosophical framework as an underground river continues to flow within the most prominent currents of contemporary thought. As a lifeblood, the contribution of Foucault's theories has been indispensable to the thought of the second half of the 20th century, both in the strictly philosophical sphere and within a whole range of knowledge, ranging from linguistics to art history, implicitly showing how each sphere of human thought is intimately interconnected with the others. Some of his most important and groundbreaking works, such as Histoire de la folie à l'âge classique, Les mots et les choses, et L'archéologie du savoir, were published in Italian translation only 1 year after their release in France by Milanese publisher Rizzoli, close to that peculiar university word that in the 60s was called Filosofia della Statale, to distinguish it from the radically different Filosofia della Cattolica. Such responsiveness is hardly surprising, even in a world where cultural contacts were maybe slower in temporal terms, but more intense in strictly intellectual terms. Italy had always been very sensitive to the cultural trends of neighboring France, and possibly, by virtue of such cultural proximity, even earlier than in the rest of the world, the gigantic scope of the new theories expressed by Michel Foucault was understood, which would soon become inescapable for the new studies of post-structuralist linguistics, literary criticism, as well as, of course, for the history of global thought itself. I now leave the floor to those who know much more than me about the theme of the symposium, adding only how important philosophy and more generally il ragionare, stealing Leonardo Sciascia's words, is for exercising conscientiously our critical sense, in an age where, for me, no more, no less than in the past, economic trends swift our structures and values, the wider, higher, and more general look of philosophy on reality represents, and will always represent, the germ of resistance to the temptation to consider the human structure as natural structure, and you will represent the avant-garde to adapt these structures to human survival, necessity, freedom, and possibly happiness. So, thank you.
I'm just going to say a couple of words of welcome. In che lingua le dico queste due parole, Gianfranco? Portoghese, italiano, inglese. Andiamo con l'inglese. Okay, on behalf of the Italian Differences Lab of the Center of Global Studies of the Università Aberta, welcome everyone. And thank you in particular to the Istituto Italiano di Cultura for your kind support. It's a pleasure to host this important conference, maybe the first big one we organize, and Gianfranco organizes, haven't done anything. So we are facing two very intense but rewarding days that revolve around the central author for the Italian thought, Then I hope one day we'll also have a chance to interrogate ourselves about Italian thought itself, because everyone knows that literature is something very tightly related to nation, but there is no maybe substantial interrogation nowadays about the relationship between nation and philosophy. So maybe one day this might be also a chance for a follow-up, maybe in this conference. But first, Foucault, thanks everyone for being here. And I look forward to listening to you. I'm going to moderate the second session, so you'll have to with me for a couple of more hours. Now I give the floor back to Gianfranco and Giambattista, right? Okay, Giambattista, please make your entrance.